Far and Away is a 1992 romance journey film directed by Ron Howard. Tom Cruise plays Joseph Donnelly, a young Irish tenant farmer in the late 19th century who dreams of owning his own land. He travels to America with his landlord's daughter Shannon in hopes of finding freedom and land. The film follows the pair's journey from living meager lives in the slums of Boston to participating in the Oklahoma land rush with complications along the way. Shannon's family moves to America from Ireland after a riot leaves their house burned to the ground. At one point, Shannon is wounded, and Joseph leaves her behind with her family, and he takes a job constructing railways. The two are reunited at the Oklahoma land stake, as both finally find their freedom and realize their love for each other. Far and Away begins in the year 1892, at the end of the 19th century. The events in the film take place over the duration of 1 year. It spends a few days in Ireland, follows Joseph and Shannon in Boston for about 2 months, and then makes a sharp jump forward in time, 8 months forward to be exact. This is used to further along the final events of the plot and also to further the overarching story. The plot of Far and Away consists of Joseph and Shannon's journey to America, their trials while attempting to live on their own in the strange land, the Christie family's move to America, and the Oklahoma land rush. The story of the film is based on the theme of freedom. How do you achieve freedom? At what price? Do you give up on your dreams, or can you accomplish them? Far and Away's story focuses on all these questions, using elements of mise-en-scene to portray the idea of freedom.
Freedom is a rare thing in these parts.
Ron Howard uses both explicit and implicit meaning throughout the film to display Joseph's wish for his own land, his journey of self-determinism and growth, and his relationship with Shannon. From the very first scene, we know the film will focus on the concept of land and the conflict of gaining freedom. The setup begins with a scene of tenant farmers rioting over one of the landlords passing through the town. After this, Howard makes it extremely clear that the movie revolves around land. In fact, the word land itself is used so many times, I could make a fairly long supercut out of it.
Land, it says.
Land.
Aside from the constant uses of land and dialogue to convey the film's theme, Howard uses implied meanings through setting, props, and memories as well. Some of the most powerful images and thematic messages are implicit. Let's first take a look at Joseph and Shannon's relationship. They begin as two adventurous souls looking for a way to escape their oppressed lives. They don't start out as a romantic pair, but throughout the movie, their feelings for each other become very apparent. At one point, Shannon asks Joseph if he has ever imagined what his land is going to look like. They both describe their perfect land, responding interestingly that their dreams complement each other.
They would complement each other, no?
They would. The one, in fact, depends upon the other.
This is the moment when both express their long-held feelings for each other, under the carefully constructed context of their desires for land as well. This conversation is also important to remember, because if you notice closely, the plot of land they claim at the end of the film is a perfect mixture of the pair's vision. The symbol of the horseshoe is also important to notice. The first time Joseph sees Shannon, she throws a horseshoe at him in hopes of driving him out of the barn. Later in Oklahoma, a farrier drops a horseshoe on Joseph's foot, the exact same place it dropped on him the first time. After picking up the horseshoe, the first person he sees as he looks up is Shannon, whom he has not seen in 8 months. Joseph humorously says that he's cursed, even though the horseshoe is a recognizable symbol of good luck, which in the end, it turns out to be for Joseph. Let's take a quick detour to cinematography. There's one moment I want to focus on that is not only a great use of camera movement, but also symbolic to the film's central theme itself. In the beginning, Joseph's dad dies, prompting Joseph to leave his town and go after the Christie family. As he dies, the camera cranes slowly upward. The audience can immediately recognize this as the soul ascending and leaving the body. There's one small twist as the camera suddenly drops and his dad awakes to give one final message. The same movement is used at the end as well, when Joseph seemingly dies after a fight with Stephen. But this time, his soul stays. Not only is this a creative way to indicate the presence of the soul, but it also maintains a free, floating, wide-open feel. This is what Joseph is searching for, not only his own land, but also freedom for his soul. Lastly, I want to take a look at symbols and imagery that stress Joseph's journey to freedom and that accentuate the problems he must face getting there. As Joseph leaves his town in Ireland for the last time, He rides out on a small donkey. Donkeys are not animals of power. They are domesticated, trained animals of labor and work. This shows where Joseph currently is at in his life. He's a slave to the landlords, settling for rough terrain and a feeble life of farming on rough land. Now, keep this in mind. It will show up again later in the film. When Joseph and Shannon first arrive in America, they have no money and no plan. They end up staying in a brothel in Boston, while Joseph becomes a boxer and Shannon finds work in a chicken factory. Joseph stays fairly naive and thinks he has finally found a good life.
I think I like America.
A brothel in itself is not a suitable place to stay, but it's also a place where people are used for money, which is exactly what is happening to him. He doesn't realize that Mr. Kelly, the owner of the club, is just using his boxing skills to earn money. Joseph is earning a nice amount of money that as soon as he loses his first fight, he and Shannon are kicked out of not only the club, but out of their living space as well. Their quest for freedom has come at a price neither of them bargained for, as they go a few days without food or shelter, then become separated after Shannon gets hurt. The film ends at the Oklahoma land rush, with Joseph and the Christie family both hoping for new land. Remember how Joseph rode out of town on a donkey earlier? He's become a new man by this point. Now he's riding into the land rush on an unbroken, free stallion, the utmost symbol of freedom and power. Stephen tries to taunt Joseph one last time, reminding him of where he came from.
Forget the horse, lad, and find yourself a donkey.
But Joseph is beyond that. He has finally found what he's been looking for the whole film, and rides confidently towards that dream. In conclusion, Far and Away is much more than just a story of romance or of finding new life in America. It conveys powerful implicit messages of what freedom is and the price of trying to go after it through symbolic images, props, and repeating occurrences. From the opening scenes of oppression and riots in Ireland to the sweeping golden plains of the Oklahoma territories, Far and Away offers a compelling look into one man's journey to find himself, his love, and ultimately his own land.